Hey guys, happy Black Friday in Udemy, and today we're going to look at the amazing sales that they have for the next 7 days. Seriously, pretty much everything in the entire site is $14 Canadian for the next 7 days. So we're going to look at these different sections: Python, data science, machine learning, and deep learning. And so if you look at the description down below, pretty much everything is linked there according to how I feel about them. As well, if you look at the slider for the video length, you can see that I have it separated into chapters so that we look at Python, data science, machine learning, or deep learning, depending on what you want to do. And I might even look at more like these. I'm not quite sure yet, okay? So let's get started right away. If you're interested in getting this content, check the description down below and just look at the timeline for what courses you want to actually hear me talk about. So let's get started with Python right away, which is, this is a very, very well-known one. We're going to skip all the machine learning and data science stuff in this Python section. So there's that. Learn Python Programming Masterclass. I've definitely seen her before, Dr. Angela Yu. I've seen that ad all over Facebook. Okay, that looks actually pretty good for just the base Python stuff. So 2022 Complete Python Bootcamp from Zero to Hero in Python. So, oh my God, 1.4 million students. That is just phenomenal. Want to use Python 2 professionally, learning both Python 2 and Python 3. They better not still teach Python 2. If they really do, that is actually very silly. So going through the content quickly, they have some very quick setup to get started. We're going to look at objects and data structures, which is the most important thing to understand the whole language. We even get into object-oriented programming, which is phenomenal. They give a whole hour and 20 according to all these different OOP concepts. So it's very good that they cover that. Extremely useful. Errors and exception handling is pretty useful for most circumstances. And yeah, you can see that they get into pretty much everything, including actual Python projects, advanced Python objects, so even learning more about strings and dictionaries and sets and all of that. So this is great. There we go. Okay, appendix, older Python 2 material. Yeah, that's not surprising that they kind of covered that. For $14 for that, really good deal. I would definitely recommend that one. Just to cover what that is again, that was the 2022 Complete Python Bootcamp from Zero to Hero in Python by Jose Portilla. Okay, Learn Python Programming Masterclass. So this has less students, but still, phenomenal ratings, very, very well known clearly. Have a fundamental understanding of the Python programming language, and as well add Python OOP skills, which is very important. Install and setup is, again, nice and quick. They are going to use the IntelliJs, which is, that's probably PyCharm, what they mean by that. Either way, they're going to teach all the fundamentals, data structures, lists and tuples, dictionaries and sets, input, output, of course, I'm sure the other one taught that too. Modules and functions, you need that. Object-oriented, 6 hours. Okay, so let me actually compare these two contents here, because wow, that seems like a lot of time. This is 65 hours of content. The other one, that first one, is 22 hours. Okay, so if you compare these two, we can see between the 2022 Complete Python Bootcamp and the Learn Python Programming Masterclass, this has 65 hours, the other has 22 hours, and they are the same price right now. So I don't know if this one's normally more money. This says 120 normally. They both say 120 normally. Generally, they're both on sale, so it's kind of tricky. But you might be tempted to get the more content for the same price. I'm not sure. Let's look at one more Python. 100 Days of Code, the Complete Python Pro Bootcamp for 2022. So we are going to see, how long is this? So 60 hours, again, about the length of the other one. Build games like Blackjack, Pong, and Snake. I like how they're doing fun stuff. Learn to use modern frameworks. I'm not sure if they used all of this stuff before. Selenium, Beautiful Soup, Request, Flask, Pandas. So all the data science stuff as well. So although they don't really say it, they say Complete Python Pro Bootcamp. It is, it is definitely data science. You can see that. And I know that her teaching is great. I've heard her before. So she teaches all the basics, 91 more sections. Wow. So all of this beginner stuff, object-oriented programming, getting into intermediates, making games, file structures. It's good that they teach this, the args and keyword arguments thing. A lot of people actually don't teach that. APIs, very important. HTML, CSS, wow. Okay, so that is incredible to learn all of this stuff for $15. So basically the same price. Would very highly recommend that. Okay, so that was the Python. Let's jump into the data science. So here I'm not going to cover the machine learning stuff, even though I know that data science definitely encompasses machine learning. I think that's a huge portion of it. But I'm purposely going to pick the more data analysis stuff for data science so that we can talk about the machine learning stuff over here. So data science A to Z, real life data science exercises included. Machine learning, deep learning, data science and deep learning, I will skip that for now. Statistics for data science, I will look at that. Data science and machine learning bootcamp with R. For those of you that know me, you know I'm not a huge R fan, but I will cover the R material as well and try not to be biased for this one. Okay, that looks actually pretty good. So let's take a look at those. Data science A to Z, real life data science exercises included. Learn data science step by step through real analytics examples, data mining, modeling, Tableau visualization, Tableau. Okay, this is $18 right now, so that is getting to be a little more expensive than the other ones, although relatively similar cost. We have 21 hours. Okay, pretty good. We start off with Tableau. That is a very interesting decision. I'm not sure if I agree with that, to be honest. How to use Tableau for data mining. Wow, there's a lot of Tableau. And then we get into, statistics, basics. That's actually nice how they give 8 minutes on regressions, ordinary least squares 3 minutes, R squared 50 minutes. So they give a nice actual statistics background, which I think that's important to get a decent idea about that. Okay, so here's my thoughts about this one. Data science A to Z, real life data science exercises included. If you want to learn statistics, I think that's a really good thing to do. Some visualization, I think that's great. Look at what they have in here. Understand how to apply the chi-squared statistical test. Like, that is very, very statsy, and it's not super necessary for a lot of people. It is nice for statisticians, but when they say data science here, I would really more think just statistics. Okay, so statistics for data science and business analysis. So sample or population data. Yeah, that's generally how you would start this kind of stuff. Categorical variables, numerical variables. Yeah, so I'm actually already liking how they do this one a little bit better from what I see. 5 hours on-demand video, by the way, is not a lot for $14. So actually, I am going to just cut this off right away. I think that's just not enough material for you to pay 14 Canadian for. That's just not worth it. So I'm going to cut off statistics for data science and business analysis. If you like the material that's in there, then go for it. That's not going to be my choice. I'd pick the other one. Data science and machine learning bootcamp with R. Okay, so I will not be biased for this one. I will pretend that I like R. R is a great programming language. It's really not. But so what is data science? Of course, Linux installation. Okay, so what's nice here, a lot of people actually aren't going to do this, is they actually give you a setup for each of your different computers. It's really silly that some people won't do that, and honestly, I can be a little bit lazy with it too. But it's really important that you can actually set up what they're doing. Otherwise, you're just paying for nothing, literally, and you would refund it. So we're going to teach the fundamentals of R. You kind of have to, because not a lot of people, sometimes courses don't teach the fundamentals of Python because you assume you know Python, but most courses, if they use R, they will teach R as well, because most people don't really just go learn R for the sake of understanding the language. They use it for data science only. So fundamentals of R, it's useful, sure. Machine learning project with R, linear regression, logistic regression, KNN, decision trees, random forest, SVM. K means clustering, natural language processing, neural nets. I'm curious what they actually do with the natural language processing, because that's might be a little bit tough, but this is pretty good. So 17.5 hours, and this one's only $14. I think this is pretty good. We require computer access with download privileges, basic, that's funny, basic math skills. Yeah, you could probably do this. And by the way, pretty much all of these are going to be assume they're beginner friendly, unless I tell you otherwise. You should be fine doing most of them if you just go sequentially through the course. Okay, so that's it for data science. For machine learning, A to Z, hands-on Python and R in data science. This is extremely well known, 150,000 ratings, 820,000 students with 4.5 stars, understandably a bestseller. So let's look at what we do. We use Python and R. Okay, it's a very interesting choice to do both. We have 44 hours of on-demand video, and yeah, we look at pretty much the things that you would expect, even stuff like, they say specific topics like reinforcement learning, NLP, and deep learning. Okay, so we started with data processing in Python, so getting used to some libraries, taking care of missing data. If they're using Python here, it'll be in pandas almost certainly, and in R, that'll be in their kind of data frame thing. But it says in Python, so obviously not. Here, they'll be dealing with the matrices and data frames in R, and it'll look pretty similar to what it does in pandas. Part 2, regression. So we give a considerable amount of time to some important basics here. Simple linear regression deserves an hour 20. Multiple linear regression, 2 hours is a long time, but it might deserve 2 hours. Polynomial regression, I'm surprised gets much time at all, but I guess that's an option. Support vector regression is, support vector machines are important concepts. I hope they don't delve too much into the math on that one because it's kind of complicated. But they're useful as basically it's always the introduction to machine learning is the support vector things. And then we start using things like, well, not decision trees. That's the basis for random forests, which we do use random forests a lot. How to evaluate regression models using R squared is an option. Logistic regression and k-nearest neighbors and support vector machines, all very common ideas here. Kernel SVM is should be tied into the SVM here. I'm surprised it's not into the same category. Naive Bayes is a nice introduction. Decision tree and random forest is getting much more modern classification models. Reinforcement learning, I'm not sure if you want to do that. It's very interesting and it's something that I'm very passionate about, but I'm not sure if you want to spend 3-4 hours of your time to try and comprehend these very weird concepts you may not use. So as you can see here, machine learning A to Z, this does cover deep learning as well. We get artificial neural networks, which is the basis of all of this stuff. We're going to get very important concepts to understand, like activation layers, gradient descent, backpropagation is extremely important. So I'm very happy to go over that. And I'm happy to give you a 5-minute video on backpropagation and 20 minutes worth of gradient descent. It's very important. So that's great. And we do that both in Python and R apparently. Convolutional neural networks are the basis of most computer vision, although they can be used elsewhere, and this deserves all of the time that they gave it. Dimensionality reduction is great to go over PCA, LDA, and I'm surprised they don't do something. Actually, I bet you it's a bonus. Special, I don't know what this is actually. So something more complicated in dimensionality reduction is called autoencoders. It's a neural network thing, autoencoder. You may want to look that up if you're interested. And we do even crazy stuff like XGBoost gets 37 minutes at the end. So you can see why this is phenomenal. This is one of the ones I would very highly recommend. Requirements is just some high school mathematics level because they throw just about everything in there. I think this is a really great course, to be honest. Python for Data Science and Machine Learning Bootcamp. So learn how to use NumPy, Pandas, Seaborn, Matplotlib. Just understanding the data science libraries, making some simple projects like a spam filter. SVMs I think is kind of important, but I know the content here and it's great. You learn NumPy and Pandas and Matplotlib and Seaborn and all these great libraries. We talk about cross-validation, how to train machine learning models, an introduction to machine learning with linear regression. And then we go over the common algorithms like KNN, decision trees, random forests, SVM, k-means clustering. So pretty much all of the stuff that you'd want to know, except we have 5 hours for deep learning. So it shoves it all in this big section on deep learning. And there's a lot here, okay? So this might feel a little bit overwhelming to be thrown in all of the same section. And I don't think it's covering, quite enough of the actual algorithm specifics like the other one. I've talked about convolutional neural networks for a long time. I'm not sure if that's going to give that content in here as well. It doesn't look like it does. So it's a little bit irritating. It's just, this deep learning is a little bit more of a gentle dive into the idea of using TensorFlow and Keras into making models. The other course I think is a little bit better, actually. And what I don't think the other course did, correct me if I'm wrong, Big Data and Spark with Python is really important to give an hour and 40 minutes. That's, that might be all you need for Spark, actually. I think it's great. We go over the simple ideas on why you need Spark, why it's, you will be using it, by the way. So it's very important. And yeah, so we got 25 hours of content. I think this is a great course. So I'd say reasons to get this one is definitely if you want to learn Spark, if you want to just do Python, which is what I generally promote, but still the other one has some benefits as well. Like it goes more into convolutional neural networks and deep learning, and it's a little bit hard to pick between them, but I'd probably pick the A to Z machine learning and I would skip the R content is how I would do this. But you do whatever you think that is best for you. Machine learning with JavaScript, I'm going to go over very quickly. Feel free to skip over this if you don't want to do it. $18, which is a little bit more expensive than the other ones. We're going to talk about, basically, I'm looking for the word. So yeah, I knew that was coming. TensorFlow.js they have a library for using TensorFlow and doing deep learning in JavaScript for front-end applications, and it's interesting. It's possible. but I wouldn't really worry too much. It's kind of just an interesting thing to talk about, and that may come up in the job if you know how to do this and you think it's worth doing. But I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Something that's actually called like Scala and Spark for big data machine learning is very underrated. So $17, slightly more expensive than the other ones, but still a very good deal. We use Scala. So guess what we don't use is Python. Okay. So why the heck don't we use Python? Actually, I'd say this is a little bit out of date because someone actually corrected me on this. PySpark right now, PySpark, which is Python Spark, and Scala, they're actually pretty much the same speed, both Scala and Python. Again, maybe someone will correct me again that I'm wrong. But I believe they're about the same speed. And so there's really no reason to be using Scala other than existing companies. So I know like big banks here and many other companies that have a lot of data were using Scala to do Spark for a long time in big data. So it is useful to learn. You will find a job with it. I can almost guarantee if you work and learn it well enough. And it is very great. Databricks is one of my favorite tools. And they also are going to use AWS as well. So I would highly recommend to do this pretty much in addition to anything that I said was a good idea. This is always just a really good choice. Complete machine learning course with Python. And so build a portfolio of 12 machine learning projects. And we use a bunch of different algorithms to do that. So regression gets 4 hours, classification gets an hour 44, and then we do all of the common algorithms. We do some unsupervised learning, which if you didn't see that word earlier, we still saw this stuff like dimensionality reduction and clustering. Deep learning somehow only gets an hour. We solve MNIST, which is the most basic thing we can do. And we do some really simple, I'm sure, natural language processing work. And then we do get, it says deep learning only gets an hour, but deep learning does computer vision, and we get more than 2 hours worth of computer vision. So this is $18. I think this is pretty good, but I would probably still do the A to Z machine learning course before this. This really truly is like a deep dive into deep learning. You are going to learn a ton, both theoretically and how to apply these things. So let's take a look. What is deep learning from the very beginning? Artificial neural networks, what is the basics? Convolutional neural networks are recurrent neural networks, like LSTMs and GRUs, if you've heard of that. We talk about Boltzmann machines for 4 hours, which I don't even know. Sorry for the notification there. Autoencoders, intuition, building an autoencoder. So this is a dimensionality reduction for the most part idea. So something very interesting here is they do kind of expect that you know this machine learning basic stuff before you go ahead and do this. And so they supplied some introductory material like data pre-processing, regression classification, so that you're able to kind of learn all this stuff and understand why you actually want to start, why you really want to use these things. So I would definitely do that first. So this course I think is phenomenal. I think it's a really, really, really good option. Here's the thing: is that it's not something you'd start with. Okay, you would definitely have to know data science and machine learning first before you do this, and then after you think you've got the classical machine learning algorithms down, like pretty much all the stuff that we've said, like k-nearest neighbors, SVMs, all that stuff. If you've seen that before, then please move on to deep learning. This is where the world is at. We're using these all the time. This is what everyone talks about. If we're trying to solve a problem, we're probably trying to use these bad boys, and it's going to come up in interviews and link to the interview if you can do it. 23 hours of on-demand video on pretty much entirely deep learning is phenomenal. So I'd really recommend this course. And now let's just take a bit of a tool around other stuff. So Excel. Do I really recommend Excel? If you want to, then this is probably the course to take, so I'll link that. Web development, the Web Developer Bootcamp. So a lot of you ask, actually, should I be like a web developer kind of before I start doing all this machine learning and deep learning stuff, or even instead? So if you were to get one, I can tell by the ratings. By the way, I don't know these courses, but I can tell by the ratings that this would be probably the one to get if I was just to quickly compare the content between these two. Web Developer Bootcamp, HTML5, CSS, Modern JavaScript for 2021, all of the common both back-end and front-end applications. So that's great. This is probably something incredibly similar, except we use MongoDB, and they summarized it a lot better. Like this is a lot more going on here, but it's probably the same material, 55 hours and 64 hours. on pretty similar stuff. So I would honestly take your pick between those two. You can see that the complete 2022 web development bootcamp is $5 more right now in Canadian, so that's actually pretty significant. And yeah, either of those two would be great choices. AWS quickly, I'm amazed that wow, AWS is that popular that we have 101,000 I think ratings on this Ultimate AWS course. So that is crazy. For $14, you can learn an absolute ton about AWS, probably the biggest cloud provider right now, which is pretty much everything's moving to the cloud. It's essential to know that stuff. So there you have it. That was our Black Friday sale. Please take a look in the description down below on what you want to look at. And yeah, I hope you learned a lot. And yeah, I'll see you next time, guys.